Yeah, man.
Yes. Right after the opening hymn, could I read my paragraph about accepting lyrics for our Oh, just sure. Actually, you need to learn Okay, I will.
And do we have a board liaison for today?
Good morning. I am Phil Hammerhand, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees, or will be for a few more days. Welcome to our service. Unitarian Universalism encourages an open-ended search for the meaning in life and commitment to asking our values that shape our actions. We are a pluralistic religion that draws wisdom from many sources. We welcome all people into our beloved community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We especially welcome those of you who may be worshiping with us the first time. We invite you to join us after service downstairs for coffee and snacks so that we can get to know each other better. Guests are welcome to participate in any activity in our community. Let us all take a moment to greet somebody nearby you who you do not know, so we may all feel welcome here today.
It's like recess where the bell rings and you have to go back to your seats, right? I'm Reverend Jay Wolin. It is great to be with you here today and back in person, and as well back online still with everybody who is visiting via YouTube with us today. So we are glad we can all be together in whatever ways that we can be together. I did want to just make a note for the spotlight from our racial justice team. We are co-sponsoring an event called Race, Adolescence, and Trauma. And it is Tuesday, June 22nd at noon. There is Professor Kristen Henning, professor of law from Georgetown Law, who will be coming via Zoom. And the program participants will develop a shared language and understanding of concepts such as racial bias, trauma, and stereotype threat, understand the traumatic effects of policing on adolescents and their families, and discuss strategies for addressing racism in the child servicing network. We will have a copy of it that you could, if you can't make it at noon, that we can share with you individually as long as it's not shared with anyone else. And so, without further ado, let us start with our opening reading, something I put together. It's called Play on Words. Our service is about play today. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. I want to know, who is Jack? What and how we are playing makes all the difference. So some don't want to play second fiddle and certainly don't want to be played like a fiddle. And I wonder, how is a fiddle different from a violin? No one's been able to give me an answer on that. Some play it fast and loose, others play it close to the vest. I've been told not to play in traffic, but that is where the fun is sometimes. And if you play with fire, you will surely get burned, which is why some people play it safe, maybe too safe sometimes, and that is playing right into other people's hands. I've been taught not to play favorites, but also not to play the field, right? So like in golf, I just play it where it lies. And if things fall apart, remember, everybody plays a fool sometimes. Everybody plays a fool. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining along. Some people play possum. Some people play dumb. Some people play cat and mouse. And certainly when the cat is away, the mice will play. But, mice do deserve to play sometimes. That's not bad. Some play hardball. Others play both ends against the middle. Some people play with loaded dice, I've heard. But if they do, then turnabout's fair play, right? Because two can play at that game. Sometimes we have to just throw out the playbook and start all over again. Sometimes I just play a hunch. Sometimes I just play it by ear. And I certainly often will play it for laughs. But I always try to play to my strengths. I have been told I play devil's advocate, although personally I like to call it God's advocate. And of course, I always try to advocate for myself. When I lived in New York, I was always asked, will it play in Peoria? Now I get it. Okay. After 15 months of COVID, I have to admit I am just played out. But, in the end, people just want a level playing field. Should be easy as child's play, like the game of life. Let's all play together, sharing the wonders and joy of this life together. As we light our chalice now, may its light shine within us a sense of wonder and play, both frivolous and serious. Please join me in the chalice sliding with the words that are on the screen. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, to seek, to sustain, and to inspire. Okay, so now our land recognition.
Hi, I'm Diane Hammerand, a member of this congregation. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country on which our congregation's grounds are located, the Kickapoo, Peoria, Sauk, and Meskwaki, Miamiaki, and Ochatee-Shakawan, and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hi.
Now I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn, number 12, verses 1, 2, and 4. O life that maketh all things new. Sorry.
O life that maketh all things new, the blooming earth, our thoughts within, our pilgrim feet, wet with thy dew, in gladness hither turn again. From hand to hand the greeting flows, from eye to eye the signals run, from heart to heart the bright hope glows, the seekers of the light are one. The freer step, the fuller breath, the wide horizon's grander view, the sense of life that knows no death, the life that maketh all things new.
My name is John Whitson, and I am the music director here at UUC-QC, and I wanted to speak briefly about our fun new project that the music team is working on, and that is the commission of a new hymn for our congregation. Currently, we're in the phase of looking for lyrics created by our members for this hymn. So the music team is looking for these lyrics written based on the following phrase: from isolation to connection, longing for community. Submitted writings will be considered for use in this hymn, which is intended to celebrate our spiritual community and reopening. Writers are encouraged to consider a verse-chorus form to their writing, but we will accept anything. No specific structure is required. You can email those to music@uuc.qc. And thank you so much for considering sharing your contribution.
Hello. Oh, hi. Good morning, friends. I am so glad to be with you today to celebrate our playful religion, because our religion is playful. So I'm hoping that you will join me and do a little bit of a playful meditation. So if you want to join me up here, friends, you can. Otherwise, you can stay back there, wherever you're comfortable. But this is Words for All Ages, so this is for all of you. So let's start with ways that I like to play. I would love to tell you some ways I like to play. So if you want to move with me when I tell you, you can. So one way that I love to play is I love to hula hoop. Does anyone else love to hula hoop? Okay. Do you want to hula hoop with me? Let's hula hoop. Ziva says no. Who wants to hula hoop out there? Move your hips around. Thank you, Serenity. So another way I really like to play is I love to see how high I can toss a ball into the air and then see if I can catch it when it comes back down. So do you want to first feel the solid ball between your hands? All right, how big is it? Is it a really big ball? Is it very tiny, like a bouncy ball? Ziva's is tiny. It could be like one of those small bouncy balls. All right, so hold it between your hands and then like just throw it up as high as you can. Yes. Oh my gosh, it's going so high up. The sun is blinding me. And then catch it. Did you catch it? Another way I love to play is I love to paint. And I sometimes don't even know what colors I'm gonna use, and I like to just like make splatters, like just like blobs of paint, and see where the paint goes. So why don't you take your paint? What color do you have? Kendall has yellow. Gold, green, perfect. Coral pink, I love it. I have like a dark indigo. And I'm just gonna spill it on my paper, just like dump it. Yes, and I love to watch the way it just pools out. And I don't even know where that paint's gonna go. I love that. And our religion is a playful religion. And all those things, I love that about our faith. I'm not sure where my mind is going to go, but I follow it. I follow where my mind and my heart is leading me. Now, let's go to the sandbox together. So, our sandbox has some very solid walls. We've got 4 solid walls, and they're wood, and we can sit on them. So, why don't you close your eyes, everyone, and we're going to put our hands in the sandbox. If you want. Maybe you want to put your feet in the sandbox. Do you feel the soft sand between your fingers? Or your toes? Now, how do you play in a sandbox? Oh, yes, tell me. Yes, I love that. So can you feel that between your hands? What does it feel like when there's sand is wet and you push it and you make a sandcastle? Yes. And what about you? What were you going to say? Yes, sandcastles. Who likes to build sandcastles? Yes. Now tell me, do you think all of our sandcastles will look the same? No. It's like mid-century modern sandcastle over here. My sandcastle gives me great joy. Ziva, does your sandcastle give you great joy?
Yes, and flexibility.
And flexibility, yes. So we are playing in this sandbox together, and we're building different sandcastles that give us great joy. Our religion is a playful religion. Now, we can build whatever sandcastles we want, but we do have principles. So could I maybe like toss sand in Trinity's face?
No.
Absolutely not. I cannot. Could Kendall knock over Eva's sandcastle? No. So we have a playful religion. We find our
Well, that was fun. So I've always loved to play. I grew up playing cards with my family. I've talked before in sermons about playing gin rummy with my grandfather and how that taught me strategy and statistics. My uncle taught me how to play poker and to never bet to an inside straight. That has always helped me in my life earlier. But more than anything else, what these experiences did playing with my family was it helped me relate to them in a different way as opposed to just, a parental child way. It allowed us to play games together. And we were able to see the personality of each other in a different way. Without worrying if I was like doing my chores or my homework or something else. It was just about having fun. Winning and losing didn't really matter all that much, just learning to have fun. I did play my share of organized sports, but it was my free time that I learned the most from. Now, I know today there is significant debate and study about the question of structured activities for children versus free play, and I am not making a judgment about that here. I am just sharing my experiences. So I do believe, though, play is important. It helps us learn to be creative. It helps us learn what our limits are, but also to learn that our limits can grow. And how we can expand our limits. I think that's true for even us here in congregational life as well. But I definitely grew up in the generation of free-range parents. Both my parents worked, and from the age of 10, they told me just be home by 7 o'clock for dinner. Now, there were no cell phones back then, although they did buy me a cheap watch, but just be home for dinner at 7. Now, we did live in a close-knit community where I knew most of my neighbors. I know I grew up in New York City. That seems very strange. But in my neighborhood, most of my neighbors knew me. The store owners knew me. So it was really hard to get away with anything. And most of my afternoons was spent just a block away in the schoolyard. You could literally see the schoolyard from the back of my house. And if I was late, my mother would yell from across the yard, "Jay Wallen, get home for dinner!" The embarrassment of just having heard that once was enough to make sure I was home on time. Now, I was not very athletic, but after school, the main activity with my friends and I participated in was playing sports together in the schoolyard. It was a way of socializing across class, across religion, across race. And it's true, especially with organized sports, it can create a competitive instead of a collaborative environment. But in the schoolyard, although of course everybody wanted to win, it was about hanging out and having fun. One of the strangest games we played was this game called Ringalivio. The goal of the game was simple, to capture and put into jail all the players from the other team. And the boundaries were the 3 sides of a chain link fence that formed a C in the schoolyard, and an imaginary boundary that ran from the ends of the chain link fences. And since it was imaginary, some of us with great imaginations often breached that boundary. Each fence that was the opposite of each other acted as jails, and then it just became, truthfully, just like a free-for-all, a melee, a brawl sometimes. And if you wonder why young men are aggressive, this is how we are enculturated, right? It was simple. 2 opposing forces charging each other to gain control of each other. At first, being shorter then and slight of built, I did not fare quite as well in this game, but I learned and I adapted. Sometimes it pays to hold back a bit from the initial charge. As others were focused on putting people in jail, their attention would drift away from me. I may not have been big, but I was quick and stealthy, and I became especially adept at sneaking through enemy lines when no one was looking and freeing everybody from jail. As soon as I would reach the other fence, I would yell, "Ring Alivio, 1, 2, 3," and that would be the signal that everyone was free from jail. Now, perhaps that is why today I support prison abolition. I don't know. But I learned many lessons from this game. One, it is important to know what your and others' strengths are and to use them together to your greatest advantage. And this is true in Ring Alivio or in ministry. What is our strength as a congregation? I would say it's our willingness to learn new things, to think critically, to love passionately, to grow spiritually, and to work for justice. I learned that having a plan helps, and when all heck breaks loose, though, you have to adapt to changing situations. I learned that the many barriers I faced in life were imaginary barriers that I placed in front of myself, and that it was okay to go through them. You know, I also learned that you cannot wait too long to act, or you will miss the opportunity altogether. I suffered many a ripped pants well before ripped pants were a fashion statement. I wasn't the star, but I proved my worth by freeing others, allowing them to achieve. And I think that is a key role of leadership, allowing others to achieve, freeing them up, giving them resources, giving them skills. And these are skills I carry forward to this day. Just think about with the congregation. We've adapted to COVID. Now we are adapting to coming back from COVID with multi-platform services. And it's not always perfect, and we'll keep refining it over time. Special thanks, I want to say, for our COVID reopening task force, Heather Brinkschroeder, who really just kept us organized and on task, along with Phil Hammeran, Aubrey Ryan, Colleen Sibthorpe, and John Whitson, specifically from a musical perspective and what was allowed and not allowable, or what was safe and not safe. Their constant attention to detail and the dynamic changing landscape has made us safer and prepared for what comes next. And, you know, we as a congregation may occasionally fall. Yeah, please, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to break that up. Give it up to them. We as a congregation may occasionally fall and fail, but we get back up, whether it's with ripped knees or not, and we keep on because we believe we can learn from our missteps, right? And learn to become better, right? Because that is who we are, right? We believe revelation is ongoing. We believe there is more to learn about ourselves, about the world. And so our strategic planning task force is working on a plan. It'll be presented to the congregation later this summer. Because we do have a plan, right? We need to plan how to use our resources in a way that will help us fulfill our mission and our vision. And our mission and vision will only come to pass with all of us learning to work together and play our parts. And so another game I played when I was a youth was pickup basketball. You know, 2 captains were picked, and then they would each choose 4 other players. And, you know, if there were only 10 players, maybe I was the 10th player picked. If not, I would then say, I got next. Meaning that I'd be the captain of the next team to choose 4 players and play the winning team. And thus, the last becomes the first. And then when the game was over, someone would yell, "Who's got next?" Right? And I knew I would. It never bothered me I wasn't chosen because I knew I would get to participate. Even though I wasn't as good as others, right? I learned. When I got on the court, I gave it every ounce of ability I had. I learned the value of teamwork, how to pass to other people, right? I learned both humility and perseverance, of taking a hard drive to the basket and getting back up again. It taught me that when you are in the mix of things, sometimes it isn't easy. And it also taught me to stay engaged, even when things didn't go my way. And again, this is where I learned what my limits were and how I could get better. Because, when I moved away from the Bronx and I went to play with other people, I was so much better than I thought I was, because I was playing against such high competition. And when you play against more talented people or play with more talented people, you become better yourselves. And I learned I could be part of a winning team doing my part. And so I take that information that I had, that wisdom, into the world with me to help build organizations. Every individual's talents are suited to different areas, but everyone is welcome to try something new as a way to learn and grow. And I found for an organization to be successful, all the people involved needed to work together, making each other better and more enlightened. And so the same thing about keeping focus, right? Keeping focus on the goal. These past 2 years, I just want to say it's been hard years. We've had many, many members die, others who've moved away, leaders, many of them long-time leaders in the congregation. So I am asking you now, who's got next? Who wants to share their talents or explore their talents or develop their talents? We learn by playing, by doing. And so I invite you to play. And since playing is a shared experience, one way a game we can play is how much money can we make in the collection this week, right? Let's see if we can top last week's, right? We make this a game. So this month we are sharing our offering with Clock Inc. You can read about them. It'll be up on the screen. And as well, there was an order service. There was a little blip about them there. During this time, we invite you, if you're online, to write a joy and sorrow in the comments if you want them read. We do have a book outside that you are welcome at the beginning of the service to write a joy or sorrow that will be read. And as well, we invite you to come down to light a candle to mark a joy or sorrow in your life. Let this sacred time begin. just a couple of joys and sorrows. In the book, Diane Hammerand, I know you're back there somewhere. A joy, a new chapter beginning in Madison this week. Adventure awaits. Sorrow, our last Sunday as residents of the Quad Cities. We will return for the going away party next week. And online, we have a couple. And so if you see, I'm like having my phone. This is why I have my cell phone. I'm not playing games up here, I promise you. I'm just checking our online stream here, which we have 18 people on. Okay. And Jo says she has Joy for Equal Access, that I believe is a UUA organization. I finally found to participate and contribute to the congregation. So that's always a great thing. Thank you, Jo. I look forward to hearing more about that. Dana Rosenberg's joy is 11 years of legal marriage yesterday and 30 years of committed relationship with Beck Ford. All right. I feel like singing, "Can you feel the love tonight?" Okay. That's why I am not the music director here. Okay. All right, well, that's all we have. Let us take a moment of silence, recognizing the joys and sorrows that we all have, whether spoken, or lighting a candle for, or in the silent sanctuaries of our heart. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, let us be grateful. Grateful for what we have in this world. Grateful for relationships. Let us be thankful for the fathers on this Father's Day. Thankful, I think, I'll say a joy for my father. May he rest in peace. For all those fathers who do go out and do the work, for all the parents who go out and do the work. And then also, let us remember there are those who live without fathers and lived without fathers, or lived with troubled fathers. And let us hope that they find peace as well. Let us move forward, trying to be the best parents, the best human beings that we can be, with compassion and joy and play. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
The message of this song reminds me of a lesson that my grandpa taught me, which is whenever you have work to do, if you can find the game in it, there's a lot of fun to be had. So I hope you enjoy.
You find the fun and snap, the job's a game, and every task you undertake becomes a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in a most delightful way. The honey bees that fetch the nectar from the flowers to the comb never tire of ever buzzing to and fro, because they take a little nip from every flower that they sip, and hence they find their task is not to grind. For a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful, in the most delightful way.
So yeah, my children, though they played some organized sports, they came of age during online gaming and spent many an hour playing games online, such as World of Warcraft, and with people from all over the world. I mean, it's pretty amazing, actually. And I read somewhere there are still over 5 million people playing World of Warcraft online, even though it's like an old, like debuted 16 years ago. And I admit many video games that they played were violent. And however, despite the public outcry about this, I just want to say most research shows that online gaming can be very beneficial for people, and not just children, interesting. Jane McGonigal, a PhD who's a game designer and game theorist, argues that traits learned in games can be translated to real-life skills to solve real-life problems. In her many writings and TED Talks, she points to 4 attributes about how gaming can benefit the gamer. The first, she says, is urgent optimism. Gamers have the desire to act immediately to tackle an obstacle. They have a goal, and working collaboratively with others, they are given challenges that they can solve at the level that they are at, which gives them a reasonable hope of success. And then they are given timely feedback, right? Your character dies, right? You can't get more timely feedback than that. But think about this. Gamers think nothing of failing over and over and over again and continuing to try over and over and over again. Now imagine if we lived our lives that way, right? Not biting off more than we can chew, learning from our mistakes, and getting support from others. Right? And trying again and again and again after we fail until we figure it out, and then try something a little bit harder. So like maybe you don't have to start meditating an hour a day the first time you meditate, right? Maybe just start with 5 minutes, right? And then after you've done 5 minutes a day and you know you can do that easy, then increase it a little bit. You don't have to start by leading 3 teams simultaneously at the congregation, right? You can maybe just participate on 1 or 2 and then go and lead a team, right? So, right, just understanding, again, what our limits are, because otherwise you'll get burnt out. Secondly, playing a game together actually builds up bonds of trust and cooperation, she says. When we play together, we agree to the same rules, right? Value the same goal, or we wouldn't be playing. And we stay with the game until it's over. Very similar to being in a congregation. We agree to a covenant with each other, right? Ways that we agree to behave in certain ways with each other, right? To pursue our mission and vision as a congregation. And to stick it out, even if things don't go perfectly or the way that we expect it. And so, yes, and we keep trying again and again and again. And the goal, though, is we need to learn and get better at it. 3, gaming builds up great work habits. And I know that this is true of my son when he played. Gamers played World of Warcraft for an average of 22 hours a week. Think about that. If you think about although I don't know any 40-hour-a-week jobs, but that would be like a half a job right there. I mean, they're willing to work hard all the time if they're given the right work. So my response to that, to all of you, right, for gamers or anybody, find what it is that calls to you in this world. If you find that, you will become immersed in it. You won't mind putting in more than 20 hours a week, and it will be fulfilling. And 4th, McGonigal posits that it is that gamers love to be attached to awe-inspiring missions to human planetary scale stories. And so for our older people who maybe don't play games, it is often about like saving a planet or so forth. There's so many unique different games out there. But I tell you, this is not unlike Unitarian Universalism. We are looking for an epic win, trying to transform through radical love and action. We want to transform racism. We want to transform climate change. We want to transform homophobia and transphobia and xenophobia. These are awe-inspiring indeed. We want to transform society where justice prevails and equality and equity live. McGonigal summarizes, and I quote, "Gamers are super-empowered, hopeful individuals. These are people who believe that they are individually capable of changing the world and suggest that if we treat the world as a game, we will be more motivated and less depressed." And I do know, right, if I'm doing something that's a monotonous task, I'd like to say, okay, how fast can I do these 10? And then, like, how fast can I do these 10? And I make a game of it to help pass the time. But in this case, McGonigal has gone on and created game designs to help people create solutions for climate change, economic inequality, political governance, and many other issues. Right? If we play a game about something, and think about this about anything you play games about, right? You can imagine something better. You can imagine solutions. And we can collaborate and make the world a better place for all people. And although we can treat life like a game to help us perceive things in a better light, life is not a game. There are real consequences. Now, remember the movie War Games. I don't know, is there anybody out there who saw that movie War Games? A few of you. It's basically where a supercomputer eerily says, "Would you like to play a game?" And the unwitting computer hacker chooses the global thermonuclear war, which the computer then tries to actually initiate an actual global thermonuclear war. And it's only turned off by teaching the computer tic-tac-toe, a game that theoretically cannot be won if played correctly. And so thus, sometimes it's better not to play the game. In gaming, there aren't consequences, or are not consequences. In the real life, there are. But gaming can provide models on how we live. But then we have to actually go out and try to live those models out in the world. Play reminds us that although we live in a serious world, we should not take ourselves too seriously. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy." So similar, game theory, when you go around and you smile at somebody, they smile back. And that sets off all these chemicals in our brain. So just smiling at each other, it can be like a game, but it makes us happier. So I invite you to choose to smile, to choose to be joyful, to be playful, to laugh, and to use play to learn and get to know one another. And so I do want to let you know we do have a game night here at the congregation. I think it's going to be every other Friday night. I think it's going to start after July 4th. We had one last Friday night. And so I invite you. And people play all different kinds of games. Like, I can't play Magic. One of the kids tried to explain the game of Magic to me, and I was lost. But there's regular cribbage games and other card games or any game you want to bring. So join us, bond together in this glorious, awe-inspiring community. May it be so. And now I invite you to have some playful fun with our closing hymn, number 118, "This Little Light of Mine."
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Woo! Thanks for playing along. My closing words today are from Marianne Radmacher, from Lean Forward into Your Life. Gotta catch my breath. Live boldly, laugh loudly, love truly, play often as you can, work as smart as you are able, share your heart as deeply as you can reach. As you awaken, may your dreams greet you by name, and may you answer yes. As you walk, may all your angels gather at your shoulders, and may you confidently know that they stand with you. As you rest, may all your endeavors know contentment and peace. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice. The words will be on the screen. We extinguish this flame, the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.